Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's the Books That Make You show, and I'm your host, Desiree Duffy. And today we are talking about books that make you want to run away to a small town in the Rocky Mountains. Oh, books, they help us escape, don't they? I love books that just bring out the best in us, too. And something that makes you wish that you could just climb right into the pages, right alongside the characters, and just share a hot cup of cocoa with them. Now, that's what bestselling author Virginia Fox does with her Rocky Mountain Romances book series. Virginia captures this essence of a life that most people only dream about. Sweet romances, a touch of suspense, and little dabs of mystery, and lots of furry pets make these books evoke a feeling of warmth and happiness. You won't be able to resist curling up in front of a crackling fire with them, or maybe grabbing one to read on that next beach vacation. Virginia currently lives with her family, her Australian cattle dog, two moody tomcats on a small ranch near Zurich. Hi, Virginia. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Desiree. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. I think you have a few randy horses on your ranch as well, and maybe a few other animals, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's true. I have two colts and two older mares that have been with me for a long time. And yes, they have quite fun with the sunny autumn weather we have here, sunny fall weather. So, yeah.
I love it. Okay, I'm going to ask you about your horses and all of that a little bit later. But first, let's talk about this book series because you spent time in the Rocky Mountains. You visited the United States. So you know firsthand what that lifestyle is like. And that's something that you need to do to be a successful writer. They always say, write what you know. So can you talk about the time that you spent in the Rocky Mountains and how that influenced this book series and your writing?
I've spent 1 year as an exchange student in Colorado, up in the Rocky Mountains, in a small town called Shawnee. And I lived with a host family, and it was a really great and very character building and formative time of my life. And so when I started writing a new series, I think I started the series 10 years ago now, in German, of course. I was thinking it would be so nice to create a fictional small town in the Rocky Mountains, to be able to revisit those places I've seen and the people I've met. And of course, in my books, there are no existing person, but every author takes the inspiration from life. And so that's where the Rocky Mountain Romances got started.
Yeah, it's that idea of tight communities and people that just they bond together in small towns like that. And they don't necessarily do that sometimes in the bigger cities. So it provides the reader with this just wonderful means of escape. And I think that's what makes reading books like this fun, right? Is that sense of being able to escape. Now, let me ask you, as a European, I think it's interesting because as somebody in the United States, the Rocky Mountain, I mean, the United States is huge, right? The Rocky Mountains just evokes that sense of warmth and coziness and majesty because the mountains are so beautiful. How do Europeans see the Rocky Mountains in the United States? Can you tell us a little bit about that perspective?
Well, as I'm from Switzerland, we do have mountains, a lot of mountains, the Alps. Of course, they're much younger, and that means they are more jagged and more steeper valleys. But the Rocky Mountains are actually a pretty good example for how Europeans see the United States, everything is bigger and better over the big lake. And that's the same is true for the mountains, if you take the Rocky Mountains as comparison. So that's actually pretty funny. But of course, I do have a relationship with mountains in the first place, coming from Switzerland. And so it's, for one thing, it was new, and the mountains were bigger and maybe more impressive. But also, I could also relate to living up in the mountains and what that means in terms of weather or snow or driving steep serpentines, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it does. I mean, as beautiful and majestic as they're a great setting because you have, and I don't want to give it away, but I think there's a blizzard, a snowstorm in one of your books, just maybe, just maybe. And by the way, I mean, these books are successful. This is a very long series, and you have interchanging storylines and characters, and they've been very successful in the Europe. And now they're being released in the United States, which is just so exciting. Can you talk about the theme of family and friendships, that connective tissue that you weave throughout your writing? Can you talk in more detail about that?
I think the main reason I do that, or the main reason why family and friendship have such important such an important role in my books, is because I'm first and foremost I'm writing about human beings like you and me. And of course there's the romantical love, but there's love in every form between people, and of course also the less nice sides of human behavior as well. But what I want to try to show people is that even if you don't get along all the time, you don't have to, but you have to be there when it counts. And I think that's something that all of us, well, at least I do, we wish to have in our life, people that are dependable. It doesn't matter if we had a fight yesterday, but if I need somebody today, then I need to be able to depend on them. And I think actually that also the interactions between all of the humans, and not only, I mean, a big part of my books is of course the love story, but I think how we interact with all of the people around us is important as well, especially if we would like to live the life of our dreams. And I think that's kind of where I want to help my readers escape to this life that is relatable on the one hand, but also a bit of a dream, to just to be able to take a breather from everyday life.
Yeah, and you definitely do capture that. And that sense of being non-judgmental, I just want to say props to you, because it feels like we really do need more of that in our world right now. There's a lot of people that they kind of want to just seem like they always want to go at it. And I love the way you pull people back and take them down and say, hey, we can all be different and celebrate those differences and have a happy life. And you have that theme of, people can achieve whatever it is that they want in life.
That's true. That's actually something I admire a bit about the American culture. The you can do it philosophy or mentality, if you want. And especially for women, I think it's so important to instill that belief and to start believing that we are enough and that we can do whatever we want. And I don't think it should be measured only in terms of money, but I think it's also important that we as women believe that we can follow our dreams and still be successful, also in terms of money. And of course, I mean, I'm writing fiction, so I have the freedom to make their life a bit easier than it might be in our everyday lives. And I'm very aware of that. But I also think myself, if I'm an avid reader and I read every day, and I actually do read for relaxing or to relax. And I think, I mean, everybody of us knows that times can be difficult and hard. But for me, it's important that I get, kind of a bit of optimism with my reading to keep up my spirits if the going gets tough in real life. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm just agreeing with you. Yeah. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your writing process and some ideas for other writers, but I got to ask you first about the animals. Can we talk about the animals? And
Of
I
course.
know, yeah. I know you say horses are your meditation. Can you explain what that means?
Well, for me, working with the horses or also working around the horses, mucking stables or feeding or brushing them, it's something that needs me to be in the present and to really focus on what I'm doing. And I don't really have time in those moments to worry about stuff. And if I'm troubled after I work with the horses or around the horses, everything is kind of put back into the right perspective, and problems don't loom as much overhead, or the dark clouds just went a bit further away. They're still there. I mean, life doesn't go away because I pet my horse, but it's a really good way for me to be in the now, to be in the present. And for me, that's much easier than meditating, sitting down and doing nothing. That's almost, for myself, it's almost impossible. I know that many of you achieve great things through meditation. It's just not for me. I can't handle sitting still for long.
Well, and yeah, I mean, everybody, it's that old saying, you do you. Everybody should do what works for them. And animals can be very therapeutic. I just want to show there's Rambo right there.
Oh, the black poodle.
He's the doggo, right? On the first book in the series. And then you have a very calming little bit. I mean, it's not a calm book by any sense of the imagination, but it's yoga. It's Rocky Mountain yoga. So there's yoga in there and there are doggos. Can you talk a little bit about, just bringing some of the animals into your writing too, and why that's important in the actual writing that you do?
For me, the animals are a big source of inspiration, and they're just so funny. We do have here. I live. My mother lives with us, and she has a dog as well, and two cats, and our two cats, and the dog and the horses. So, just by observing them, there are so many different scenes or moments, also emotional moments, when they are able to make me feel better if I'm down, or they make me laugh through their antics. And often for me, it's also a way to outsource some of the inward thoughts of my protagonists by putting them on the animal or letting the animal interact with the people to show something about the people involved. And first and foremost, it's fun to write about our furry pets. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, again, I don't want to give too much away, but Rambo has some certain reactions to people in this book, and you're right. It gives the reader a sense of who they are, because dogs know, right? Animals know that it's like they have that psychic ability or something, don't they?
That's true.
Yeah.
They will let you know exactly what they think of your new friend.
Exactly. Tip for the young ladies out there when maybe being interested in that new boyfriend. Have the dog or the cat sniff them out first and see what they say. Okay. How about if we talk about any your writing process and just how you do this, how you crafted these stories, because this is book one, and we've got 28, 29 other books in this series. Like, that's a lot of writing. Can you talk about your writing process a little bit?
I have to say I'm a pantser, and in the very sense of the word, because I really come up with the protagonists first, and then I let them run with where they want to go. And sometimes I do have some idea in which direction I would like them to go, but if they keep turning around or having their own opinions about things, in the end I don't have a choice but to follow them and see where they lead me. And that can be very frustrating, but also very, very interesting for myself, because 30 books, it's there are already 30 books out now in the German version. And if I would have needed to do all the plotting myself without the help from my protagonists, I would have had much more work. And I think actually that they help me make the books better.
Yeah, it makes them feel organic and natural. And
Yeah,
again,
organic is a nice way to put it.
yeah. Well, you're in good company, so you're a pantser. And what that means for people who might not be familiar with the term, it's flying by the seat of your pants. You're not plotting. You're not making an outline. So in the world of writing, there's plotters who will make an outline and do, scene by scene storyboards and all of this. And there's authors that just write by the seat of their pants. And I'm always reminded of Stephen King when that conversation comes up, because he's a pantser. He's a devout pantser. So you're in good writing really company.
Good. Yeah, great company. Wow.
Yeah. And I have to imagine too that when you're doing that, it's more fun because you're not following strict guidelines, that you as a writer are probably having more fun.
That's true. On the one hand, I'm actually envious of plotters, because they exactly know every day what they have to do, what they have to write. It's nice knowing what you have to do, but there are so many surprises if you're a pantser like me. And it's actually really funny because I write, it just comes out of my head, and then I'm done. And then I'm really done. I give it away to my editor, and yes, I do work through it once again, but then I just forget about it and concentrate on the next story. So I'm really glad that my editor put up this whole Excel sheet with names and people in it, and who with whom and when, and birthdays and births and weddings dates and everything, because I cannot keep up, actually. And later, if I go back and need to look something up, then I start reading a bit, and it's like reading a new book. Actually, it's really funny, like somebody else wrote it.
Oh, yeah. I love that. What advice, words of wisdom do you have for other writers? Maybe somebody who's listening or watching and they're just starting out.
First of all, you are enough. Your ideas are enough, and they will be loved by readers. There's a reader for every writer, I think. And also, sometimes there is this whole conversation about competition. And since I'm first and foremost a reader myself, I always say there can never be too many books. We all need new books. I need new books every day. And so if somebody else writes a book that inspires another reader to read more books, then that's great for myself as well, because maybe the next time he reads a book, one of mine. And for somebody who wants to write, really, well, the other advice is really pragmatic, and that's just start to write and don't judge yourself. Write it. You can delete it or correct it or change it tomorrow or in a week, but today you'll write, and tomorrow you will sit down and write. And it doesn't have to be a whole day or even an hour. Just take half an hour of your time, maybe put Facebook away for half an hour or something like that, and just write. Because actually, that's pretty much what I did when I started with my writing career. I've wanted to write books for so long, really, actually, since I've been a kid. But everybody always told me, well, that's not a career. You will not earn any money, and you will, will be a starving artist. And of course, when I was younger, I didn't want to be a starving artist. I mean, who wants that? Maybe a successful one, but not a starving one. And I never had time to do that because of all the work and stuff. And then there came a time I was really broke and I couldn't afford anymore to buy my books to feed my reading addiction. And I decided then and there to use this free time I couldn't spend reading with writing. And from there, it really took off. So it was a long process, of course, but that actually started it.
I love that story. And I can see so much of you as the protagonists, the main characters in your stories too. I know that sneaks in there, and I love it. I love it. That's what all good writers do. How about the business side of writing? Any thoughts there, especially for authors today? Because we do, a lot of authors need to be an authorpreneur. They have to do a lot of things on their own.
That's true. I think the most important thing is that you realize you are actually an entrepreneur, especially if you're self-publishing. That does not mean do it yourself for everything. Don't, I mean, maybe you're a designer, then you can make your own covers, but if you're not, I wouldn't recommend it. Also, you really need some professional to read over it to make sure that there are as few typos as possible and no major problems in the storyline itself. Because if you do want to be successful, you need to be a professional. You need to be professional about the work you deliver. And yes, that will cost you a bit of money, but it's really worth it to invest that. And I think you have to accept that with every business you start, you have to invest at least a small amount of money first to make certain that you have the quality. You also can stand behind it and be proud and say, yes, I have done that. I have achieved that, and I'm proud of my work. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabulous advice all the way around. Now, something that I absolutely love, especially this time of the year, is food. Food plays a big role in your writing, too, or at least in this book specifically, in book one specifically, we have some recipes in there. Do you want to talk about the recipes that you not only use in your books, but I understand that you like to eat healthy as well. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I do like to eat healthy, and I do like to cook. I love to cook. It's actually for me a way of showing love to my family and friends. And also, I like to try different things, but it also has to be doable. So most of my recipes are don't need too much time to cook them. There are a few that take longer, but overall, you can cook them on a weeknight. And I have a daughter, she's turning 17 soon, and she's my child, I have to admit, since she mostly loves cooked food. She's not a big fan of sandwiches. She doesn't like bread very much. So she always wants to have something cooked. And I think it's more pleasurable to make sure that your food is tastes great, then everybody will love it and everybody will praise your work, instead of just throwing something together without giving any thought or love to it. So yeah, that's where my love for cooking stems from. It's also something very sensible to do, if I'm procrastinating and should be writing, I can always cook, because that's nobody will tell me, oh, you're not doing anything, I can say, well, I'm cooking. That's important.
We have to cook, obviously.
You want to eat, right? So
I love that. I love that. Yeah, and I do.
Yes.
I love Jasmine has her recipes in the back of this book, and we've got a few minutes left. Do you want to tell everybody? So this is book 1 in the series. I'm holding it up so people can see it. I know it's a little washed out because of the light, but this is Rocky Mountain Yoga. Do you want to tell everybody really quick what's going on? Like set the scene in the beginning, so people know what they're getting in for. What's going on with Jasmine and Rambo?
Jazz is about mid-20, I think, if I remember correctly, and she is actually living in Seattle at the start of the book. And then stuff happens, and she has to really get away from there, and she takes her standard poodle Rambo and flees to the Rocky Mountains to her grandma. She knows the place from her youth, but she hasn't been visiting very often in the past years. And then she tries life out in the Rocky Mountains. She's the city girl with city allures, I think. She's this yoga teacher into vegan eating, and collides actually with this good-looking hunk of sheriff who likes to eat a cow for a lunch.
Whoops.
That's a bit exaggerating, but they are very different, and they have to learn to accept the differences, because they do really like each other. And then the trouble that was the reason she fled from Seattle follows her up in the mountains, and stuff gets hot. So stay tuned and read the book.
It gets very hot. Actually, it's very sweet. It's a sweet kind of romance. So not hot in that way, but hot, exciting, very suspenseful. Yeah. All right. Virginia, can you let everybody know where they can find you online, follow you on social media, give your website and your information, please?
You can find me on virginiafox.com, as well as on Instagram. That's Fox_Virginia, or on Facebook. There it is, Virginia Fox Books, I think. Yes. And I would really, really enjoy it if I hear from you, either on Instagram or Facebook, or also email. I answer all my emails, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Absolutely. Virginia Fox, author of the Rocky Mountain Romances book series. Book 1 is Yoga. Thank you so much for joining us on the Books That Make You show today. I had so much fun talking to you.
Yes, it was really great. Thank you so much, Desiree.
Absolutely. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening today. Make sure that you find us on our website. It's booksthatmakeyou.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course, YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, ring the bell, and leave a few comments as well. And make sure that you are signed up for our email newsletter as well, so you never miss a thing from great authors like Virginia Fox on the Books That Make You show. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The host and executive producer of the Books That Make You show is Desiree Duffy. Sound mastering and engineering by Dave Napox. Social media and content promotion by Siddhi Jahagirdar. Copywriting and editing by Mike Robinson. The Books That Make You Show is an award-winning podcast produced by Black Chateau Enterprises.